What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. You already know the vibes. Happy Thanksgiving to all who are tuned in using the Audacy Podcast app, and happy Thanksgiving to all who might not be using the Audacy Podcast app and watching us on YouTube instead. Happy holidays in general. And Danny, before we even get into a number of things related to the world of NBA and college basketball as well, I must say, and I noted this to you as in a call that we had recently, I saw that you were back in New York recently, and you were doing all of the holiday things. I think you went to like a holiday light show, and I was just like, yo, I watched the video. I was like, yo, look at my guy here. Family man, out with the kids, out with his son for the holidays. It was a beautiful sight to see, Danny, as it's like another part that kind of denotes your transition to the days of life.
I feel like it's always weird or interesting to people when we do human things. It's like, oh, he actually does do human shit. You know what I'm saying? But appreciate that, man. It was a dope time. I said it was, wifey got a chance to spend the weekend, the first time like spending a couple of days away from him. He's 15 months now at this point. So she finally get a chance to get a break. She spent like maybe a day before, but nothing away from him before. So it was one of her friend's birthdays. They spent the weekend in the city, and I got a chance to spend with him and my family. So they got a chance to be around him more. And I can't take the credit for it. Somebody invited me to the Eisenhower Park Luminosity show. Like there's a show there, like they have a little setup, which is dope. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. He loved it, of course. You know, he's pointing, screaming, and seeing lights and reindeer and castles and unicorns and all type of stuff. So it was a dope setup. I advise anybody who's in the area to go check it out or near it. But yeah, it was a fun time. I got a chance to kick it with my pops, my mom's, his grandparents, and then some friends and family who also have kids, that he, see how each kid has grown up. Basically, they see him. I get to see their babies, so it was a good little holiday weekend.
Did I hear you right? That was the first time that your wife had been away from when for more than a day since he's been born?
Yes, I think the longest. We did the Final Four. Remember, Purdue made the national championship game. So she's like, I got to go. That was the longest she'd been away from him. It was like 18 hours. She flew in for the day, flew back. And it was like 16, 18 hours. Other than that, even when she did like a bachelorette party, we flew with her there. And she would come off site to see us at the hotel because she was still breastfeeding at the time to, drop off the breast milk or, go back and forth and check on him. But she has not been away from him more than, and even this weekend was only like 2 days. I dropped her off in the city with him Friday. She came back Sunday night. So it was 2 days basically.
I will say this, and I hope you understand the joke in this. I hope people who are listening understand the joke in this. Yes, you have a good wife.
Yes.
You have a very good baby mother too. I hope you understand the joke here. I know what I mean. But that's dedication. That is dedication for sure.
Nah, she's a great mom, bro. I couldn't ask for anything better. Obviously it's first one. So there's like some extremist type situations where she prepares for the worst often. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be a bit much, but you prefer it that way. Rather be safer than sorry. You know what I'm saying? So she's always prepared, but she's a great mom, bro. And she has not left him for more than 2 days. And I'm trying to figure out a time where we can actually go on a trip. Like we have a nanny that we can trust and take a couple of days for just us and do some date nights and stuff like that. So we're still working on that, bro. Still working on that, but it's coming soon.
A phrase that my mother always used to tell me, and I'm sure a lot of people who've listened have heard this from an elder before. Prevention is better than cure.
Yeah,
that is for sure. All right, let's get into some other things here. And again, we will get to basketball in just a moment. But one of the more newsworthy things that has happened over the past week, the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar has taken a different level, Danny. We saw reports that Drake has issued a petition in the New York Supreme Court or some criminal court in New York, essentially, where he's petitioning Universal Music Group to get information that might collaborate with the assertion that Universal was using bots in order to promote the Not Like Us diss track to make it seem like it was more popular than it really was. And there was a bunch of corroborating, I wouldn't say evidence or corroborating examples of how Universal was potentially doing that, whether that be social media users,
Spotify. People were saying Spotify.
Spotify was yes. I'll give it like social media personalities were getting paid to talk about it, whether it be like actual people were getting paid to create bots, or Spotify getting Spotify being allowed to play the song at a lower rate of how they would normally pay. And this all comes under the umbrella too, Danny, of Drake apparently having new contract negotiations coming forward. And then on top of that, then a lawsuit was then separately filed against Universal. So there's a petition and there's actually a lawsuit where essentially Drake is trying to have essentially a RICO case against Universal, and a lot of it being stemmed from them purposely trying to inflate Kendrick Lamar's numbers and a song in which Drake is called a quote unquote certified pedophile or affiliated with pedophilia in order to subtract Drake's value. A lot's going on.
Yes, this is a lot. In layman's terms, people that are listening, ladies and gentlemen, Drake's label, Kendrick's label, both owned by Universal, correct? That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Universal was pushing, because Drake is in new negotiations with Universal for $1 billion deal, basically. And to devalue him, they pushed Kendrick to make him look not worth as much, so that when the contract negotiations come up, they don't have to pay him this money. I guess it's $1 billion deal that he thought he was going to get. So he's suing them for pushing another artist who's under the same umbrella to make him look worse, or to make him look like a pedophile, also to make him look like not the artist that he's worth, which is, I mean, when it first comes out, it looks kind of crazy, but when you look at the details of it, it kind of makes sense. But a lot of people looking like, oh, it's a rap battle. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? It's kind of beef. But I don't think he's upset about the rap battle. I think he's upset about them trying to use this narrative to make him not get the money he deserves in the long run, basically.
Yeah. I think that was my initial reaction. Like, I can't believe this guy's going through with a lawsuit.
Yeah, it's like, bro, a lawsuit and a rap battle. But it's like, all right, when you look at when
you look at like hundreds of millions of dollars, that's a rap battle can fade away eventually. But like, every person most people come back from rap battles, but like to that extent, with that much money, with his global icon status.
Yeah. At first I was like,
mad at him.
This is soft. At first I was like, this is weak. But then it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like, they're trying to really take down. It's like if any NBA player, NFL player was going into contract negotiations and they had another wide receiver on their team that they were pushing to make him seem way better than which you are, but your numbers are still amazingly great. But they're like, oh, well, you're not that great because this guy is actually catching you, or he's doing really good numbers, so we're not going to pay you what you're worth in your contract. You're like, no, you're going to pay me. And the fact that you're trying to push this guy's narrative in the media to make him seem better, you should be sued for this type of thing. Which is hard to put that in analogy terms to compare, but essentially that's kind of what it is and what it was.
I think and this is probably something that Drake was trying to avoid, because it is going to expose the music industry for maybe using bots and for just
for a lot, because they promote everybody this way. This is how they do a lot of, and I'm sure a lot of his music is promoted this way as well. There's a lot of people that make good music, they're just not in the right space or the right people to push it. And there's some people that don't make great music at all, but because they have the right people backing them, it's going to get airplay on the radios everywhere you go, and they're going to get pushed with all these bots and everything, and they're going to make the money because these companies have a lot of power and they control the narrative.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what happens with it. I think one thing that is going to happen, one thing that I think was another impetus for this, the faster you get ahead of it, maybe the better chance that Drake has to stop Kendrick Lamar from performing that song at the Super Bowl. Because I tell you this, like, I would not want that. If I'm Drake.
I'm with you. I'm sure you don't want that, but there's no shot that he does not perform one of his biggest hits of all time at the Super Bowl.
Well, here's the thing. Like, that song, the line about pedophilia, that could really put Kendrick in a major. Let's say you could be sued for. Then
he can edit it.
You're a journalist. That's true. Yes, he could edit it.
Most of the time, people edit shows. Even when they cut out the cusses and all that things. Half the time, 90% of the time, they're going to do the performance. He's going to say certified, and he's going to let the crowd say it anyway. They're going to know the words. They're going to say it. He don't have to say it on stage. Don't have to be on TV. But everybody is going to sing along. Everybody knows the words. At this point, it's too late. But you can edit it. And yes, there's no way he's not performing his biggest hit. I think at this to date, it's probably the biggest hit that he's had.
Of course.
And it's that fast. He's only been out. It's not even been out a year.
Well, that's part of Drake's point. How big of a hit really was it? Well, here's the one thing, and I actually had this conversation with somebody yesterday about it, and I think I put it together pretty nicely. I'm not happy about Not Like Us being as popular as it was because of the certified pedophile line, the certified pedophile theme, and I was thinking about it because it's like this. Kendrick saw Drake just as he saw Drake as a very good rapper, as one of the best rappers of our time. Mm-hmm. That is why he decided to get into a beef with him. If he thought Drake wasn't good, he wouldn't be beefing with him via records, right? So there's a certain level of respect that even Kendrick Lamar has for Drake, even though he is dissing him. He's deemed him as a worthy opponent, right? So that's first off. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a certain level of respect for the rap game, the culture that you're a part of, the culture that you are trying to promote with your lyrics, I don't think it is right to hurt the overall rap game by trying to satisfy your need to win this beef. Let me give you an example. For a decade now, we've had this LeBron James versus Michael Jordan debate, right? For decades now, right? Imagine if we went to Michael Jordan and he said, and we said to him, LeBron's better than you. And Michael Jordan's response was, yeah, well, that's what y'all think, but y'all should know LeBron's on steroids. Mm-hmm. You'd be like, now you done tarnished the whole game of the NBA by asserting that LeBron is taking steroids. You're Michael Jordan. You feel better. You feel like you're better than LeBron James. That's fine. We understand. But then saying that he took steroids would then all of a sudden just cloud the whole NBA history because he is that good. Same thing with Drake. Like saying Drake is a certified pedophile is like, if he is, god damn. Like, and if he's not, why are you doing this?
I understand, but it's different. It's tough to compare and put in an analogy form because their beef is with words. You know what I'm saying? They have to use words to demean each other, right? And a lot of times it is rumors and lies and not real, but it is what the audience may believe or what is catchy, what's a good phrase, what makes him look bad, that's a good catchy phrase. And that's all he's doing. And before time, that's all people did in rap battles. And they would talk about how they mess with so-and-so's girl or so-and-so in their crew is weak or soft or so-and-so got beat up or jumped. And some of it would be true and some of it would be fabricated or, a little exaggerated anyway, to make the story look better. But it's hard to do that and compare it to sports. And at first people were like, this is like when J. Cole first jumped in. Oh, he's soft. He shouldn't have said that. Or he shouldn't have backed out. He ended up saying apologizing or sorry. Or these rap battles ain't as what they used to be. Back in the day, he used to say this, and this. And it's like, all right, when they come with the heat, it's like, so he's gone too far or done too much. But this is just the heat of the battle. And that's part of their beat. Part of their profession is words. They got to use words.
You don't assert. There are certain things that you don't assert. Like that is such
But it's the kind of, I guess the analogy would be like saying Mike saying Bron's not clutch or like trying to show that he's not clutch.
That's
but the numbers show differently. The numbers show differently. But he's just saying he's not clutch. But that's just a narrative.
But to assert that somebody is not clutch is not a criminal act, right? Yes. Like it's not a devious and immoral act. Yeah. Like once you start asserting that somebody is immoral to the point of criminality, aka being a pedophile, like that's like, like that.
Mind you, I think those words, even though he did mention Drake as that term, I think those words were toward a person in his crew. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but he knew what he was doing.
He knew exactly what he was doing, but he was talking about who was also the person that he's talking about, I think, is certified. Like, I think he went to prison for those allegations, if I'm not mistaken. You might have to listen to the lyrics again.
Yeah,
why is he around certified? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think he went to prison for those things. So I don't know. Would you consider this a lie? But obviously, people are looking at it towards Drake because the song is about Drake. But these shots, he's shooting at a bunch of people in his crew also. It's not just one person. And I think people are not deciphering that. So,
well, that was also purposeful as well. Yeah, we can get all into the weeds, but this is also a basketball podcast. So let's move forward. I saw that on Wednesday night you did the game. You were an analyst, TV analyst for the San Antonio Spurs and the Utah Jazz. San Antonio Spurs got the win. This one of many wins that they'll have this year. So I don't necessarily want to talk about what happened in that game per se, but I'm curious. I'm curious,
how did you? Bad luck charm. I'm glad they got the win, because if they lost, they'd be like, "Oh, we're not bringing you back ever again." But yes, we don't need to talk about the win, but I'm glad they got the win.
How did you feel in comparison to other things that you've done in the media so far, as you're kind of like trying to find your kind of swag out there, like in terms of where you might want to be, what you want to do for the longest period of time? How did you enjoy this experience? What was maybe the best thing, or the thing maybe you're like, I'm gonna have to get adjusted to that?
It was a lot of fun. I was excited about it. I got a chance to see all of my former Spurs people. A lot of them I don't know, they're new, but a lot of old faces, familiar faces. I got the chance to see Will Hardy. Shout out to him, man. Took me to dinner after. I got a chance to chop it up. RC Buford's texted me during the game. Sean and Mark. Sean's giving me his feedback during the game, helping me with my tips of what to do. I'm getting antsy jumping in too soon, too early, or not letting my guy Jacob finish the play. Like certain things, I'm getting like the critiques to help me become better. But it was challenging. I was a little nervous. It's hard to stare at the camera and talk to the camera like you're talking to the audience while there's a teleprompter, or you can see yourself underneath the camera and not look at that. That's one thing that we talked about working on. And the pregame show, it's a little difficult. That's the more challenging part. Talking over highlights for a duration of like 2 minutes. The duration, it seemed like 2 minutes. It might have been like a minute and a half. But talking over the highlights and trying to talk about mind you, I had a lot of keys to the game. I'm so nervous. I'm writing down everything. These are all the keys. I gave like 8 keys to the game. Trying to talk over all these keys and talk for 2 minutes was a challenging thing. Talking straight to directly to the microphone. So that was the hardest part. But outside of that, we were pretty much up in the stands doing radio talk. Like we weren't on camera the whole time. Jake made it easier. Jacob made it very easy. They set it up. And it was cool. It was smooth. I had a lot of fun doing it. Got a chance to be in the game, see the game, and also watch Wembanyama live first time, and seeing a lot of those young guys live. And it was a good battle, man. And I enjoyed it very much, but there were some challenges that were new for me, and that I was like, you know what, I have to work on some of these things and get used to this. But once we got into the flow, it was cool. I'm actually calling another game tonight. G League game. Hopefully Bronny is playing. We don't know. He's not playing on the road, but at home, he's supposed to be playing most of the games. But I got my feet wet a little bit. So this would help hopefully in the near future to get better with it.
Yeah. So this was your first game that you've done, and you've done it before, but when they brought you on, it was more just like an interview. This is the first time you've done it as like an analyst.
It was like actually like the times I did it before, Memphis was like for a quarter or for the half, or, just spots. And it was more of an interview jumping on. It wasn't like me hosting or this is my first time ever like hosting or being a part of and taking someone's position. Sean Elliott couldn't make it. Ironically, doing it for the Spurs, which was great. My first game ever, which was dope. And I did it in Utah. I still felt like at home because all the people and everybody showing love. Got a chance to see Avery Bradley, who works with the Utah Jazz as well. A couple other people that work with the Jazz. And just, the basketball world, the people showing me love and still give me, flowers and recognition, congratulating me. And even if the former team, they always recruit or bring in good character guys. They always, they come and pay homage, they shake your hand. And, for from 1 through 15, good kids, great kids. And I've never met them from before in the world. I don't know them from a can of paint, but Victor Wembanyama, shake your hand, Mamu, like all of them come shake your hand, talk to Keldon some. So it was good, man. It was great. And it was love.
Yeah. So looking forward to seeing how that continues to progress. I think I'm interested to. I watched majority of it, and so I'm interested to see how you continue to grow there. I think you sounded very comfortable doing that, because when you're doing the analyst role, like a lot of it is just watching the game like you normally would your entirety of your life. And because you have so much innate knowledge, so much buried knowledge of the game, and so much buried thoughts of the game, they just come out naturally. It's a very different vibe from when you're in studio and you have to be sometimes on a time crunch or things like that. So there's so many different roles in the world of sports.
Man, that people have no idea about. They don't know about behind the scenes stuff, but I'm learning it. It's a new challenge. It's a lot of fun, but yeah. I enjoyed it very much, and when we and him got a little rhythm. It's also said who your panel is when you're on a set, or who you're co-hosting with. Like, you got to get a rhythm with that person. You bounce off each other. It was our first time together, and we seemed like we had a pretty good rhythm once things got going.
That is for sure. It's a fun role to have for sure. I'm looking to get some play-by-play reps in myself. I think it's one of the more fun things to do in sports journalism.
Let's get you out there, bro.
Yes, indeed. You know? All right, let's go over one more thing here before we go into some hardcore NBA news. I watched North Carolina play basketball the other day. Danny, they're in the Maui Invitational.
Was this the Dayton game or the one we lost to Auburn?
The Dayton game. I saw you guys.
Okay, so the good comeback. Okay.
And but overall, that just made me think about the world of college sports. And Danny, I don't know if you saw this headline, but I want to make you aware of it. So earlier this week, we had a big decommitment and recommitment in the world of college football. The number one rated quarterback in the land, Bryce Underwood, who was previously a recruit for LSU under Brian Kelly, flipped his commitment, decommitted from LSU and committed to the University of Michigan. University of Michigan just won a national championship last year. They are not going to be in the college football playoff this year. They've had a very underwhelming season under first-year head coach Sharon Moore. The interesting thing about it, Danny, and as you're raising up a son, listen to this. In order to get Bryce Underwood's commitment, to get him to flip from LSU to Michigan, a number of people were involved in his recruitment. One being Dave Portnoy, the CEO of Barstool Sports, and then the other person being Larry Ellison, the person who owns Oracle. And he also got a call from Tom Brady, who also went to University of Michigan. It is believed, Danny, that between Portnoy, the Barstool CEO, and Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, and we'll just say that, Bryce Underwood got $12 million to be the quarterback at the University of Michigan. That is what you can get now if you're the number one football recruit in the land, Danny. $12 million as a freshman. And mind you, freshmen don't often even play, even if you are the overall number one recruit. Not in football, but he got $12 million
to attend the school there for the year, which he could transfer if he wanted to after the year.
Yeah, I'm sure. I believe there's nothing that is good. I feel like they can't bind him to that money, right? Because it's not because you can't say I'm giving you a contract to play, right? Yeah. So he could be like, "Oh, you gave me the 12, I'm out." We don't know what the fight.
If things don't go, if he doesn't play, that they bring him in, they don't play, he don't like the situation. He goes, "Yo, I came here, I didn't play, things didn't go well, I don't like the system, I'm gone."
Because they can't give him $12 million on incentive. You can't make it an incentive-based deal. We can't tell. It has to be somewhat of a flat rate. You can't say, "Well, if you throw 20 touchdowns, we'll give you $12 million." Like if you're on the roster and whatever happens, he's getting $12 million.
Just sign and go to school there. That is a lot of money. I'm wondering what
more money than people get in the NFL.
Yeah. I'm wondering what the number one basketball, because is it worth it to go? I was about to say I would love to raise him as a football player now, hearing this new news, but what does the number one basketball player get to go on to school? I'm assuming it's probably like 6, 7.
Well, they said the number one recruit, AJ, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I don't even want to say it's like DYBANTSA. That recruit. They're saying he plays in Utah right now in high school, but they're saying he's going to get anywhere from $10 million to play. And obviously he'll only be there for, more than likely, if you're a top NBA recruit, you're only going to be there for a year. But college football, you have to play at least 3 years. Yeah. So I wanted to highlight it because I'm just thinking to myself, damn, there's a whole lot of money now in college athletics.
The college sports has taken off. There's no more under
the table. Like, and now that it's blatant, you can get paid for real.
Yeah, which is a good thing, man, because not everybody peaks at the same time or at the times it's supposed to. And I was having this conversation with Will Hardy last night. We had a chance to go to dinner and talking about certain guys that he's seen, that he's coached in the G League or that they looked at during draft workouts. And, you know, a lot of people draft off potential. And, you know, certain guys that they overlooked have played well against them. And it's like, yo, you know, I like that guy. I like this guy. But because he was older, and I'm like, yo, that's not really old, but they don't look at the potential because it's an older player. Like seniors and juniors don't get the same love as freshmen and sophomores. And they look at these, what's the names? And, you know, he's just saying like, you know, just his perspective, how different perspectives are and how he's learning it and how he's seeing it. But it's like, you know, we have no idea how this guy's going to pan out. And I'm like, how do you, like the draft process, how do you view the talent? Like, I'm trying to see what my talent eye is. And he's like, yo, a lot of it's a risk. Unless it's a Wembanyama or a freak of nature, all these other guys, you're drafting them, even him, off potential and seeing that he might just be a role player. You're going to spend a lot of money or high pick on a guy that you have no idea what he's going to look like. He may not peak. He may have peaked already in high school. Like just because he was good in high school don't mean he's going to be good in college. Just because he's great in college don't mean he's going to be good in the NBA. His peak might be later in the NBA. It might be his mid-year of college, or it might be in high school. He might not be great after that. So, and a lot of people look at people, oh, this guy was a bust. And it's like, no, this guy was really good at the time. And sometimes your peak hits, you kind of, your body changes or things change and you just don't get back to that point, or you kind of just more downhill. Everybody's mental, their reactions, their evolution is a different timing. And just because don't pan out to be a great player for 15 years doesn't mean you were never a great player and they shouldn't have drafted you at this time. You were a great player at the time they drafted you. They thought you had good potential to be even greater player, or you had potential to be really good, or you were a great player in high school. So, you know, it's hard for people to not look at the grand scheme or the bigger picture and think, oh, looking back, you know, this guy shouldn't. But it's like, oh, he had a great 6-8 years. He was still a great player. I think it's a good draft pick. What is the what is the standard of saying, oh, we got a good draft pick? Like, how many years does he have to be good for you? Is it 6? Is it 8? Is it 4? Like to say, oh, we made a good draft pick. He was great for us for 6 to 8 years or 4 years. So he wasn't a good draft pick. He only did 6 years for us. Like we were expecting him to do 10. Like it's just different.
Yeah. I guess a lot of it depends on where the franchise is, and a lot of it just depends on the team needs at the time. And the circumstance is obviously a very pivotal for how that player might pan out and how much work they do when the team might not be built around them to be a certain caliber of player. It's a fascinating. The drafting process is fascinating in general, and obviously evaluating players and trying to really predict how they are going to pan out is one of the more difficult things in sports.
It's very difficult.
And when you get it right, you hit it right. That your organization could definitely profit from it. And when you get it wrong, you can have long time setbacks. That is for sure. I can think of one recent mistake, and I hate to say it, but it feels like one. Zion Williamson. And speaking of that, we'll come back after the break and discuss the newest developments with Zion Williamson with the Philadelphia 76ers and with those Houston Rockets as well. Stay tuned. This is Inside the Green Room. We're back like we left our car keys. Harrison Sanford, Danny Green. This is Inside the Green Room. Thank you for tuning in, and happy Thanksgiving to all, and happy holidays to all who are tapped in with us. Real quick on some NBA topics as it pertains to some news around the association. Number one, Danny, we saw that Zion Williamson has parted ways with his agency CAA, and there's a report that's part of the reason why Zion parted ways with CAA. Number one, his intent was to go to the Knicks, and he believed that CAA could help him pull that off. Obviously, it seems like the New York Knicks are not interested, considering where they are. And then also, too, he had reportedly he had some beef with CAA on how his contract with the Pelicans is structured. It is believed that his contract with the Pelicans is essentially structured so that a lot of the money to which he could get was incentive based on his actual physique based on his availability to actually play games. And as Zion currently sits out yet again, this time I believe for a hamstring injury, it feels like this is one of those draft picks that is not going to pan out. He is habitually injured. And this is coming off of sound bites that we heard over the summer where he believed he was in his best shape ever, this, that, and the third. It just doesn't seem like Zion is going to pan out. And obviously now his contract also a factor as well. But if I go back, I'm kind of amazed that Zion was taken first now when you look back at
in the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme of things, if you look at how the NBA is now, it doesn't seem like Zion was even meant to be a superstar because of his lack of shooting ability, his lack of actual length or size. But man, just your thoughts on the Zion Williamson drama that we've gone through or that he's gone through in the NBA.
It sucks to see any player go through issues, especially when it comes to injuries. So I feel for that. But a lot of this people are assuming is self-inflicted because they believe he's not in shape. Only he knows that. The organization knows that. I'm not around him. We're not in the locker room. I've seen him. We've seen him at his best. We've seen him when he's heavier. But he is a special talent. He is built for this league. I feel like he's built for them in any league. He can play football. He can play a lot of sports out there if he wanted to, just because he's a super athlete. Obviously, he does need to get in stay in shape. But I think he needs a reset. Being a number one pick and people saying, like, what to you is a pan out, doing 10 years as a number one pick. I still think he gets 10 years. I don't know if he can still be an all-star. I think he has to be in the right situation. And as you were talking about him, a couple ideas came to my mind when you said he wanted to get to the New York Knicks. I'm like, that's not the spot for him, and I don't think they're interested. But there's certain organizations that are really at the bottom and been at the bottom and also have some issues, injuries. They need probably, I wouldn't say a makeover or anything like that, but, because I don't know their training staff, but like a situation where he would thrive in and be really great somewhere closer to home. Now, it could go bad, it could go good. He's from Carolina, from my understanding, right? Mm-hmm. Charlotte, him and LaMelo, I think would be really good basketball. Like Miles Bridges there. He just has to get healthy. Maybe he just needs a fresh start somewhere to keep his body healthy. But it'll be entertaining basketball. And I think that being in the East, being in a team like Charlotte, could make them be in the play-in game. They could be in the play-in and possibly be one of those teams.
No, they don't need, in my opinion, they don't need him to get to the play-in. They were a play-in team back-to-back years before last season, before LaMelo had so many games missed because of his ankle injury. I wouldn't want to stunt the growth of Brandon Miller, who's having a very good second year in the league. But also, too, I also feel like Zion probably needs to go to a franchise that has some history of winning, that has that when he walks in the door.
Gotcha. They teach him how to be professional. I agree with that too, but I just think that him and Melo
here out of shape.
I think he will complement each other.
Like the Heat,
Miami.
He doesn't play well with Bam. Him and Bam don't fit on a court together.
No, but that organization.
But that organization would probably allow him to get to where he is, or he'd be out of the league. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm with you. He needed a professional setting, but I said it'd be nice to compliment him with a player like LaMelo. I think even Brandon Miller. I just think that when he first came in, he had a good setup when New Orleans was going. But now they've traded for some pieces. It doesn't complement his game as much. When they had Lonzo,
yes,
him and Lonzo, it was a connection. You know what I'm saying? Like Melo is not much different. It's his brother. They are both the Ball brothers. So that duo, he needs somebody like that, some type of point guard like that. CJ, more of a scoring guard. Trey Murphy's more of a scoring. Like all the guys that they have there, DeJounte, more of a scoring guard. So the guys that they have there don't really complement his game. So yes, Charlotte may not be the organization, but that type of team fit, that type of player, of being with that. Or even if I know Lonzo's in Chicago, but if he was healthy, him and Josh Giddey, those type of point guards,
yeah,
they fit him. So that's the type of scenario of roster he needs, but he does need an organization that'll put him in Miami, San Antonio, to keep him right and on the straight and narrow.
Let's keep it moving around the association. Another team that has captured my attention, or a lot of people's attention, the Houston Rockets. They won West Group A on
I picked them
Tuesday night.
I didn't put any money on it officially, but I did pick them to win that group.
You missed out.
Yeah.
They're number one in the NBA in terms of rebounding rate. They play at the pick and roll between Fred VanVleet and Şengün, and then how it pitches the ball around the court if they can't guard Şengün as he gets into the paint is something serious. Their ability to guard using players like Dylan Brooks and using players like Amen Thompson off the bench, and obviously Fred VanVleet, a very strong point guard, has helped them play at a high level that way. They have depth. Obviously, there's youth, but Danny, I think I don't know if they end up having a run to the Western Conference Finals, a la what the Pacers were able to do because they played so well in the in-season tournament. But they're obviously on the uptick. What would you say is their peak this year? What would be exceeding expectations?
Being in the top 6, or not being in the playing games, that would be over exceeding expectations. And I'm surprised Fred's still playing right now. He wasn't suspended, Yeah,
I'm surprised he wasn't either.
I'm sure that's coming soon. So Fred's still playing.
He only got fined $50K. That's it. There's going to be no suspension.
Oh, wow, good for him. He has a really good track record then.
Yeah.
But I think eventually something's going to, like a game or so. But the cup games, I don't think they want to ruin it. But for them to be in a top 6 and solidify a playoff spot would, I think, for me and most people, exceed expectations for that group. But they've been playing well. They're playing well enough to do that. But if they get in that top 6 and they're not in the playing games and they're chilling at home, like, we had a playoff spot, we don't have to fight for one at the end of the season, I think that's gonna be like, people are like, oh wow, we had a really successful year.
Yeah, they're definitely playing at a higher level. And the one thing about them, they're starting to feel somewhat similar to my Knicks, where if you play them, you have to play for real. Like, you might win the game, but you can't. You
can't sleep. You can't sleep.
You can't BS it.
There's a lot of teams like that, man, that are surprising, that are like in games. Brooklyn, Raptors, like Toronto. Like, you can't just BS with these teams because they will get you on a weird night. You know what I'm saying? So, but yes, Houston's becoming that team that's very more stable than last year. They're more mature. They're more stable. They're more solidified and way more respected than they were last year.
Another team that's getting back respect among the National Basketball Association are the Milwaukee Bucks. They are now 8-8, Danny. That is following wins over the Houston Rockets, the Chicago Bulls, Indiana Pacers, Charlotte Hornets, and then last night they beat the Miami Heat in Miami without Giannis. Without Giannis and in Miami in the NBA Cup game. The upcoming games against the Wizards, Pistons, Atlanta before they take on the Boston Celtics on Friday, December 6th. What have you seen from them that could be encouraging, or is it frankly the strength of schedule?
I would say a combination of both, but more so the teams that you listed, those are the teams they're supposed to be, except with the exception of Miami without Giannis. But that just goes to show you how Miami, how up and down they are. But I can't discredit it. Dame found the rhythm. He Doc figured out some things with low bodies being out, no Chris Middleton, and they're playing better. They're finding ways to fight, finding ways to win. The other players are stepping up. So doing little things. But ultimately, the schedule for them so far has been fair to make them get to this point. Now they're going to see a little bit tougher part of the schedule where I'm interested to see if those guys come back, what they look like, and if they don't come back, what they're going to look like. But it's good to see that they're finally trending in a better direction. Winning 5 in a row, they needed that, because if not, they were looking at being a team that's going to be in the play-in and at the bottom part of the play-in.
We'll continue to follow the Milwaukee Bucks. I hate when people start, this team is on a win streak. This team, who do they play? Who did they play before we start bloviating about how good a team is? They are obviously, from a talent perspective, even though they might not be as talented, they're still, as it pertains to what they have on paper, should be a top 4 team in the East. We'll see if it pans out to be that way by the end of the season. We'll continue to keep track of them and continue to keep track of NBA Cup action. That's going to continue on Friday, and then the last NBA Cup games are going to be on Tuesday, December 3rd. We will react to all of that and give you a preview of the quarterfinals and the entire NBA Cup elimination rounds. That will be on the next episode of Inside the Green Room. Until then, peace and love, y'all. And
read, rate, subscribe, review.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays.